Bienvenidos, amigos, and on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the highly controversial expat versus immigrant topic. And if you don't know what that is, you'll soon find out. We'll also be talking about service we've received recently in Puerto Vallarta and experiences we've had. We're going to be covering what we usually do most, cook at home or eat out, and if we're sick of tacos or not. Finally, we're going to be covering what we do for work to earn money here in Mexico. Let's get to it.
What is More Life Diaries? Reflections of the past. Life in the moment. Manifestations of the future. This is our journey. The More Life Diaries podcast.
Bienvenidos, amigos, and welcome back to another episode of the More Life Diaries podcast. We're excited to get into today's topics, but first, if you are new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. That's the best way to support us. That's all we ask of you. If you're watching this video, hit the subscribe button and check out some of our other videos. They're not all podcasts. We do a podcast video a week, and then we do a travel or vlog video that we also drop within the same week. So hit the subscribe button. And if you see us sweating in the close-up shots, it's because it's very steamy. It's very hot. We have to turn off the fans to do this podcast, so there's no, so we minimize the noise around us a little bit, but it's very hot right now.
We're sweating.
Yeah, sweat and buckets. You'll see like the outline trace of my hat. So the first topic that we want to get into is expat versus immigrant discussion / controversy argument. So for those that don't know, just a little backstory on why we're bringing this up is I think on our video, top 5 reasons we moved to Puerto Vallarta, we talk about the expat community, which basically meant the community of foreigners that we have met. In addition, of course, and we always talk about the local community being so great as well. But obviously coming from another country, coming from Canada, and you move here, it can sometimes be a little lonely at the beginning. And that's where you kind of look for, especially because we don't speak fully the language. You kind of look for people that have made a similar move as you, and you can connect on that basis. So there were a lot of comments like, you guys aren't expats, you guys are immigrants. And after looking that up in Facebook, we saw that there was actually a lot of controversy and people that find it insulting if you call yourself one thing or the other.
Yeah, we didn't realize, like, we were just using the words interchangeably. We didn't really think about that there was a difference, that there was any sort of negative or positive connotations to either word. We just heard the word, I guess, ever since I've, temporarily lived in other countries. I've heard the word expats. I remember at first I didn't know what it meant, but I just, I was like, okay, so you moved to another country, you're an expat. And that was something that I would use, but never really thought about anything further than I thought was just the word that you'd use.
And the term expat, if you live in a country in Asia permanently or not permanently, is typically the go-to word. Like the locals will call the foreigners expats, and the foreigners will call each other expats. So I guess it really depends too on which country you're living in. Some countries, they've definitely just normalized the use of the word expat, and others prefer that you call yourself an immigrant if you are living there more permanently. But let's get into just a definition quickly. So we asked ChatGPT to define, and this ChatGPT was definitely the most straightforward definition that we found for both words. The Google search were very vague in my opinion. So, and I added in foreigner. So just the foreigner, I'm not going to read the description. It just it's an
It kind of
umbrella term.
encompasses both. And if you've noticed in the last few episodes, we've been just referring to ourselves as foreigners because we don't want to upset anyone.
Yeah, like, hey guys, just
We're
foreigners.
foreign.
Yeah. And then we'll go into the details of how those words are used here and what the sensitivities are here. So an immigrant is a person who permanently moves to a different country with the intention of establishing their residence there. And immigrants typically undergo a legal process, such as obtaining a visa or applying for citizenship, to live and work in their new country. They often seek to integrate into the society and culture of the host country and may eventually become citizens. So that's immigrant. Expat or expatriate. An expat is a person who resides in a country other than their native country, usually temporary, for employment or specific purposes. Unlike immigrants, expats typically maintain strong ties to their home country, not us, and often plan to return after a certain period.
Not us.
They may work for multinational companies or government organizations or diplomatic missions. The term expat often carries a connotation of privilege or professional class, as it is commonly used to describe individuals who move abroad for a higher paying job or career opportunities. So those definitions definitely make it very straightforward. In terms of our situation, we're definitely immigrants, which I prefer to use. Like expat was a new word to me when we first moved to Chile in 2015, and which was accurate at the time because we were never planning on staying there permanently. But I think that we've definitely found a home here in Mexico, and we are pursuing the immigration
process and the path to potentially citizenship or permanent residency at the minimum. So yeah, technically, according to ChatGPT, we are immigrants. I think the controversy between those two lie, like for us, it's just a definition thing. Now that we see it, we're like, all right, we're immigrants, cool. It seemed in some of the comments as well as some of the Facebook posts that we read that there's an assumption that people from Canada and the US or England or wherever don't want to be called an immigrant because of that they might think that it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
And we want to put on the record right now that that's not us. We don't have any issue being called immigrants.
Also,
there's no negative connotation for us.
And that's what I was going to say. There's no negative connotation for us because we grew up with quite literally only immigrants. And Canada is definitely, and Toronto very specifically, a melting pot of different, first gen, second gen immigrants. And when you ask someone, where they're from, they don't say Canada back home, or they don't say, I'm a Canadian citizenship. They always refer to their home country where they're themselves or their family immigrated from. It's like a source of pride being an immigrant, where we're from, and in the communities that we grew up with.
Yeah, so Toronto, I think it's something like 56% of the population in Toronto were born outside of the country, so more than half. And it's very common for when people meet you, like I had this happen all the time, for people to be asking like, when did you come here? When did you arrive? And it's not because, of how you look or anything. It's just like the likelihood is that you came here from somewhere else. And so as Mark said, we grew up with a lot of immigrants. My family's immigrants. There's no, it is a source of pride. It is, I'm proud to be a daughter of immigrants.
Yeah.
Most of our friends are either immigrants themselves or children of immigrants. I think like Mark is the only person I know that's like
pure Canadian.
Can actually say he's so Canadian, so many generations deep. He can't say anything else.
Me maple syrup sap that comes out of these bad boys. Yeah, so many generations Canadian, but everyone that I was friends with or surround myself with, for the majority, were definitely immigrants. And we understand where, especially in Mexico, people might be more sensitive to the words, especially Mexican locals or citizens with the way that immigrants is portrayed in the United States, how the word is used, it's used almost as a what would you say, like minimize, like to minimize someone, you would
like a
call them
status,
yeah,
like a lower
exactly.
status. But and that's to say that we're saying that in the United States, it's portrayed that way in the media and movies and that type of thing. I don't know, like we're not from there. I don't know how it actually is, but
Mhm.
maybe that's where they're getting it from. Like just like they're Mexican and they're watching the media in the US and that's how it's portrayed. And we're Canadian, we're watching the media in the US and that's how it's portrayed, as if it's like a lower status. So I can
Yeah.
understand why that might be like annoying.
And also, if you're letting the media influence the way you feel and the way you think, you may need some to read some self-help books and reassess your whole situation because they liars. Yeah, just live in the real world. Don't let words affect how you feel. Don't let titles affect how you feel. Do you
Labels.
and be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Yeah, so we just want to clear that up. And I think too the like in this specific city in Puerto Vallarta where things might you might hear the word expat more because the reality is that a lot of the people here who are foreign are expats. There's a huge
Yeah.
community of older people that retire here, like
Snowbirds.
snowbirds, yeah,
Yeah.
semi, like they're here for 6 months, they go home. They're not here all the time. Their intention, I, I'm not really sure what their intentions are, but
Yeah.
they are definitely very connected back home. They have a property and they're still getting money from whatever
Yeah.
jobs or retirement or whatever. So they're
So
I don't know how permanent they are planning to be. They're definitely not trying to get citizenship in most cases. So I think now that there's like a new wave of people sort of like us, our age, younger families, um, who are and should be using the word immigrant because that's
yeah,
what they're intending to stay here for a longer period of time.
for sure. And you know, the people that we associate with and the families that we hang out with are most of them are definitely immigrants, if not all of them. And an important part of the definition that I read is to try to assimilate to the culture and be part of the culture and learn Spanish and, you know, not try to be classist of any sort because we're not. If anything, you know, we're below Mexicans here. Like we just came here. We're just low key. We're trying to do our
Yeah, we're
thing. We're
humble.
trying
We're
to fit in.
humble.
Very humble and very grateful. So it's important that, you know, people like us act as such. And I think that's where sometimes people are offended because expats specifically do come in, and not always expats, but a lot of expats would come in and not try to assimilate at all, right?
Mhm.
They come in, they pay way too much for their apartment, driving the price of real estate up, the price of rentals up. They kind of stick to English speaking areas. They don't bother um, speaking any Spanish at all. And we don't agree with that, not at all. I think it's important wherever you travel in the world to try to at least learn the language, learn the culture, because you're a guest in that city that's not America. You can't expect people to speak English in another country where English isn't the language used. It's like you're going to China and you're going to go to a Chinese restaurant and get angry that they don't speak English. Makes no sense. So it is very important for us to assimilate as best as we can and to try to fit in. And we personally find that, you know, that's the reason we came here, is to do exactly that. We didn't come here to try to price out people or to do this or that. It's really to assimilate with the Mexican culture, which we absolutely love, to learn the language, which we already speak a lot of, and to have our kids also eventually, you know, become Mexican citizens, if not ourselves as well. So we understand the controversy between the words and the sensitivities behind the words, especially in a country that borders the United States like Mexico. But again, coming from where from, we don't have the same outlook on the words. So it is very regional specific, I guess. But
Yeah. I mean, I
um,
guess it depends on what your life experiences are. Like as
yeah,
we said, child of immigrants, surrounded by immigrants all our lives. Like, it's just, I
It's
don't
normal,
have,
yeah.
it's just another label. It doesn't really
Yeah.
carry any connotation for me. And then expat, something that we were like loosely throwing around because it's something that we hear.
Yeah,
We didn't realize what it carried.
and like we're not doing this video to apologize for it because it
Because
is
Mark is based.
Yeah.
You will not apologize.
it is yeah, it's like there's no apologies to there's no apologies there. Like expat is still widely used, and when you say expat and you're talking about a specific community, they definitely understand. But that being said, like yeah, our purpose here in Mexico is to be immigrants and is to be part of this community and this country. Um,
And I guess too,
but
when you see somebody like on the street and they're calling themselves an expat or an immigrant, like you don't know. Like, how would you know? You don't know what their status is. You don't know what their intentions
yeah,
are. They could be either one. Um, and again, like a lot of people just use the words because they hear it. They don't really understand what it carries. They're not trying to offend anyone. So
and I don't hear anyone calling themselves expat. Like, hey, I'm Mark, I'm an expat, or immigrants, or foreigners. Like,
most people refer them.
I
Like,
just do what you want, call yourself whatever you want, as long as you come here with the right intentions
I
and you're
identify
respectful.
as an immigrant.
Identify with whatever you want. Just be kind, be nice, be respectful to especially locals and foreigners alike.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to touch on is the term expat. So expatriate is almost like a double negative of some sort, or sorry, it's like contradicting because obviously patriot, you're a patriot to your own country. The actual word like patriot means that you're transferring something over from a country to another. So you're technically like transferring over yourself over from your country to another country, and then you're pushing that other country behind, right? So it's almost like, yeah, the actual definition means that you're going to go back to that country, but the actual word means that you're leaving that country and you're an expatriate.
Yeah.
Although patriot and the word expatriate are spelled different, like you could say that they're very similar in definition. So it's just weird that you're literally like an expatriate to your native country, yet the definition says that you're going to go back there. Moving on to the service we've received as of recently, specifically. Well, since we've gotten here, but very recently, there's been a couple things that have really stood out to us. You want to talk about yours?
Yes. So yesterday I got my hair cut. You can see it's a lot shorter. It's
Hair
kind of
did.
like sticking to me right now, but it had to go. So I went to a place called Salon Malecon, just in this neighborhood. It was a great experience. I'm happy with my haircut, but what was more stand out to me was when I arrived, there were two girls on the couch, gringa girls. One girl was kind of laying weird, and I was like, "What's up with this person?" And like there was some excited conversation happening on the phone behind me, in Spanish, and I was like, "Okay, he's talking like it's the hairdresser talking to a doctor." Basically, long story short, was this girl fell ill while at the hairdresser. Like she had the tinfoil in her hair and everything. Got really sick all of a sudden. So what the staff at, like, I guess the owner and the staff at the salon did was they called a doctor, like explained her symptoms. The doctor was like, "Don't wait, like, bring her over." One of the staff members walked her arm in arm to the clinic, stayed with her the whole time, translated for her, came back with her again, arm in arm with all the medicines. They sat her down with her friend, were like, "Hey, this is what you need to do, how often you need to take the medicine," and like just explaining everything to her, like let her lay there in her like she was really messed up. Just her sickness, like no problem getting her whatever she needed. Like the whole time I had my haircut, she was there or at the doctor with this other person, or like they were just like in their care. And like it just stood out to me because like they didn't question it. Like she was clearly not well. They could have just been like, "All right, let's remove the foil from your hair and like go deal with yourself and your friend." But they took care of her. They were so patient. They didn't know what she had, and they didn't have any problem like walking with her like arm in arm to see what was going on. And I don't know, it just seems like such sweet, like caring service and
Mhm.
genuine, like to really just, they don't know this person from a hole in the wall, but they were
Yeah.
willing to like, stop their day to take care of her. And I just think that was such a nice, generous thing to do. And like if I were her, I'd be like forever grateful. Like who
Yeah.
knows what would
And
have happened.
and that's like a direct reflection of the type of service you get. Obviously, they went all out, but
And they didn't even make it seem like it was any bother. They were like, yeah, no problem. Like,
yeah,
whatever
like
you need, we got it here. We have, the doctor, we have this, that.
and
Like,
without a doubt, most places you go or most people you see on the streets would be that helpful to that extent. Like they'll stop whatever they're doing in their day. Like it was probably costing that person maybe another haircut or two to go all out and do these things. And yeah, like they'll walk you arm in arm wherever you need to go and kind of make sure that you're okay. And didn't have to do all that.
Mhm.
And I know coming from where we're coming from, a lot of people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, like I passed out almost in my salon's bathroom once, and they just, rinsed out my hair and was like, okay, like, hope you
Yeah,
feel better. And I walked home.
exactly. So definitely like the service here is impeccable. And even if like you're not getting, let's say like state of the art service or like 5-star service wherever you're going, those people will have your back most likely if something was to happen, which is definitely what we look for in a community and a culture rather than just people, checking up on you every 2 minutes because their boss told them to do so for tips. So yeah, it's just like so amazing to see that type of service. And our other example of great service was our recent trip to Amixley. So we put out a video, and you don't really see the extent of the service. Like we talked about it in the video, but they were definitely very friendly, very approachable. The service was amazing. Like they were showing us around the property. And this was before they kind of even knew we were there to film something.
Yeah, and they were very
Um,
proud of
yeah.
their business, and like from the beginning, like you're greeted by the bartender who kind of takes you around the bar and
Mhm.
shows you like, I guess if you want to call it like an art. I don't know if it was also a light, but like a beautiful installation, and explained that's what the bar is named after and where that word came from, and then
Mhm.
like just explaining different things and like, oh, take a look at everything, and just so proud of their establishment, so
Mhm.
warm, so welcoming, patient, like with all we were like kept stopping to take pictures and
Yeah.
stuff like that. They were like, okay.
Very, yeah, very kind and inviting. And again, that was just another reflection of like the service that we've received here in Puerto Vallarta, with our car breaking down even and people running from across the street to kind of help us out. Just since the beginning, since we got here. Just and that's a direct reflection of the people here, but also just the culture and being open to helping a stranger. It's not something that we're used to seeing.
Mhm. Lots of
Um,
good Samaritans out here,
for sure, definitely. Another question that we had gotten was if we typically cook most meals at home or we eat out, and are we sick of tacos? So I'd say that we're probably like 50-50 with cooking at home and eating out. Not every meal. I'm just talking about dinner being
Yeah,
50-50.
breakfast and lunch we eat at home.
Yeah, we figured out here we just basically do the same thing every day. And for dinner, like, yeah, pretty much 50-50. And we're going to be putting an episode out where we eat out 5 days during the week for dinner and see what the price comparison is if we were to cook 5 meals at home for dinner. Just to see, because like we typically get local eats, which is very affordable here. If you're not eating, fancy places on the Malecon, you can definitely eat out for less than you'd be cooking. And that's my thought, anyways. What about yours?
I think it's gonna be really
It's
close.
going to be
I
close
think
for
it's gonna be
sure.
really close. I don't know. I
I
think it
guess we'll
might be
have to
so
put that
I feel
episode
like
together.
cooking, you might save a little bit.
I'd say maybe in terms of having leftovers, it might be more worth it to cook at home if you're like looking to have leftovers. You might get more for your money, maybe is where
Yeah.
I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
I'm team cook at home in terms of I think it's gonna be cheaper. We'll have to see.
yeah, I'm team 50-50. Mix it up. It balances out at the end. So you get do 50-50.
Oh, and while we're on the food topics, I know this is gonna be asked in the comments. What happened to that girl is she ate something. And one of the advice of the salon owner was to be careful when you're eating out. It's this time of year at taco stands and places like that because it's so hot that food does spoil very quickly. So you really need to make sure like how they're handling their food, how they're storing their food. And again, always eat at places that are busy. Not busy in general, busy when you get there. Like the food is being like turned over like pretty quickly and
not
like
sitting.
yeah. And you know if people are eating there a lot that they're not getting sick. So that's more of a general busy. But the right now busy, like don't try and not wait in line. It's worth it because you know the food's been moving.
Yeah. And I'd say take that tip and generalize it to any time of year. Like if something's just been sitting there, don't eat it because you know you can get a bug quite easy, especially that it's hot year round. Like even if you're coming into wintertime, the food will spoil quickly.
But now
it's like 40
rapid.
degrees Celsius, so it'll be even the spread of bacteria will be even quicker.
Yeah.
And are you sick of eating tacos at all?
No, not at all. Like not at all.
I crave tacos every single day.
Yeah.
So I have to stop myself, especially when I'm going for a run in the morning time and you smell like the birria stands all over.
Yeah, like my gym where it's like next to a couple taco spots. And like when I go, I guess they're getting it, they're doing their prep. So all the scents and all the flavor, they come up into the window and I'm trying to do my workout, but I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, I drop Bassi off in the morning time and you smell everything. Someone's grilling meat right there and you just smell that nice grilled meat over charcoal. It's like, yeah, we definitely have to stop ourselves from eating so many tacos. So we try to balance it out. But typically when we do decide to go out, we'll either get tacos or
tacos.
Yeah, more tacos or definitely tacos.
Tacos from here or tacos from there.
And typically when we do eat out in the morning time, we're going to get birria tacos.
Or croissants.
Yeah, or croissants. Birria tacos are more of a morning food before noon thing. So that's typically when we'll get those types of tacos. But yeah, like good. Such a simple food, such a nice balance.
And everyone does it a little
flavors,
differently. So if you're tired of this taco place, just go to another taco place.
Yeah. And it's the same thing, but it'll taste differently. You know, the salsas will be different because most of them are made in-house. So just nice to have. It's like the perfect food for us that we don't get tired of.
The kids aren't tired of it.
Yeah.
Nope.
And our last topic was regarding what we do here in Mexico for money.
Mark has an
guys. I show my dirty house feed on OnlyFans. I'm like, I've been cleaning all day. Want to see these bad boys? And trust me, if I showed you guys, you'd be disappointed in us. You might unsubscribe. Hey, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and comment down below if you want me to start at OnlyFans. Feet only.
Only feet.
Only feet, yeah. There's a website like that, actually.
Ew, why do you know that?
So what we do for money, so when we came here to Mexico, we both quit our corporate jobs and kind of like the 9-to-5 grind. We've definitely talked about that in previous podcasts and previous videos. And we wanted to be able to figure something out here that, you know, one wouldn't burn us out and one that we'd feel proud of and just build something for the first time in our lives. Like obviously we've built the podcast platform and we're trying to grow a following on there, but also build, you know, a company that we can call our own and that we, you know, earn our own paychecks. We don't have to depend on anyone for anything. And we've recently launched our website, which is Mute Virtual Assistants. And Mute Virtual Assistants is that's our baby. It's a little baby.
Yep. Got a
It's
couple
like
clients.
More Life Diaries, but basically it's us freelancing and offering different services from admin services, so like a virtual assistant, whatever you need basically in an assistant. But also there is a creative portion of it where we offer anything from podcast editing and
Video
shooting,
editing,
video
social media
editing.
management, whatever you need, you got it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what we just started that website, but previous to that, we've been working and freelancing
Mhm.
with different clients, providing those same services, but now we're just putting it under
Yeah.
that. So that's
Mute virtual assistants is like our efforts of how we've been earning money just streamlined into a business that we can now promote on social media and try to get new clients that way. So again, mute
assistance.
mute virtual assistants.com. Check it out. We also have an Instagram page, so check that out. And yeah, I don't say I wouldn't say that, where we've got like unlimited amount of clients right now, but we're definitely looking to take on more clients, and that's how we've been earning a little bit of money here while in Mexico. And
Yeah, so I don't know how deep we want to get into it. Maybe we'll just give like a summary of it, a little bit more than that. And if people want to know, happy to answer the questions. But we found the clients on Fiverr and
mhm,
Upwork originally. Personally, my opinion, those platforms aren't the greatest. There's a lot of competition. Fiverr is very passive. You're just waiting for someone to find your profile. Upwork is extremely competitive. You're competing with people in like the Philippines and India who are willing to work for a way lower salary than you.
mhm.
Um, so it's yeah, like I mean, I ended up finding people on there, and I'm not making $4 an hour. I'm making more than that, but like, um, it takes time. Like you kind of put your
You're just
name in that
sitting, we're
hat and
sitting
wait for
duck,
someone to
yeah.
draw it. Like it's a little bit too passive. So that's why we went with the making our own business.
And
Um,
also like you don't get a personal approach. We're definitely trying to build more of a business relationship with our clients rather than just kind of click add to cart type of relationship, right? There's no
yeah.
personalization. So that's where we're trying to take our business is definitely to have like long-term lasting relationships with our clients where we could offer, them different types of services. Like they might need virtual assistants right now or personal assistants, but down the line, they might need podcast editing or
Social
social
media.
media management. And we also offer that. So they'll hopefully come around and, hire us for that as well. So definitely like we didn't want to just be the Fiverr type of business or people that just sit there and hope someone hires them. Like we're definitely reaching out to businesses that we want to work with. We believe in our mission. Hopefully, they believe in ours.
Yep. And yeah, I just want to go back to the question. My advice overall
Hmm.
experiences. We came here. We had a cushion, so we didn't have much of a plan yet. I would advise that you either have a cushion or you have a very good plan or something lined up if you're moving here.
Yeah, well, like
Um,
we said, we sold everything we had.
yeah.
We didn't sell every single thing, but we definitely sold a lot and saved up that money before coming. So that's what we would suggest, especially if you are planning on being an immigrant here versus an expat. It's like declutter your house. There's stuff everywhere, and most of the things do sell, especially on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji. Like, just declutter your house and have that money, have that extra money to even just travel for a couple weeks if you
Mhm.
want.
And most of the families that we meet here, I mean, it's kind of the same, like a similar situation. They came here, they got rid of a lot of stuff, and they had to kind of figure it out, and they are figuring it out. So the community is great because you can bounce ideas off each other, you network. But I would say, before you come, either have a plan, have a cushion, and if you need to think of work, think of what types of things you could offer, what types of things that you could do online, maybe take some courses or, start like I think the one thing I would have done is start the website earlier,
Earlier, yeah.
um, and then like come down here with a lineup of clients already.
Hmm.
But it worked out. It's all good. There's a lot of different options. I know when we were preparing to move here, a lot of people that we were watching were, teaching English online. Um, you just have to think if it's going to work for you and like really look at the money that the reality of the money that you're going to be getting for those types of
Yeah.
jobs. The individuals I saw that were doing that were single and were able to, work whatever
Live off
hours,
very little and
live
work
off very
flexible.
little. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, they can be in a quiet space all day because they're just by themselves. So just you have to kind of consider those different things,
Yeah.
scheduling and all that, what you want to make, what you can offer.
Start from scheduling. Cut.
Yeah, like what kind of schedule do you want to keep? What kind of skills can you offer? How much do you think you should be earning? Um, these types of things are important to
Yeah.
kind of consider. There were things that we kind of had to play around with at first because we weren't really, especially coming from Fiverr and Upwork, you can't price yourself too high, especially if you have no ratings or reviews, right?
Mhm.
So being flexible with that, but also, knowing when to kind of pivot is important.
For
So
sure. And even like if you can get clients back home, as Kathleen said, or if you can even look for jobs that are fully remote that you can travel with from back home, like that's definitely something I wish we would have done prior to leaving, even though our plan is to transition out of those types of jobs.
mhm,
It's definitely just good to come here with some sort of security at the beginning. And
or a
again,
fallback plan.
like put yourself out there. Like we came here, we started More Live Diaries, we started Mute Virtual Assistants, and just put yourself out there, talk to people, go on Facebook. Like that's definitely something that we've talked about that we weren't comfortable with per se, but we had to break out of that shell. And when we do talk to people, just be like, yeah, I have a virtual assistance company that I'm working on and
Mm.
stuff like that. And they're like, word of mouth gets out and then you have a couple clients just from that. So definitely like tell people what your intentions are and what you're working on. And there's so many great people here
Mhm.
that I'd say putting yourself out there and not being afraid and not being just quiet and staying home or and ashamed or whatever it
Yeah,
may
like don't
be.
silo yourself. If
Yeah,
you tell people you're working on something, there is a chance that they might know somebody that can help you. They
for
might know someone
sure.
that's interested in your service. They might have an idea of the type of work that you could get into.
Hmm.
I found like a mentor for another like line of work that I'm getting into now just by talking to someone and saying like I need to figure out some other stream of income. So it's it's worth it. Just be open about it.
Yeah.
A lot of the people here, and I'm sure in different cities across Mexico, like people who have immigrated here are in the same situation or had been in
Hmm.
the same situation. So they are willing to help and give advice or give their experience.
Yeah. And that's all for us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, the expat versus immigrant. We hope that's clear. Hit the comment section if you have any comments about that. Please keep it positive. If you have any questions or any comments, obviously leave them down below. We love interacting with you guys. Hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Facebook. We're always replying to our messages. We do appreciate every one of you, especially if you've made it this far, especially if you've been with us from the beginning. But if you're new here, we hope we convince you to hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you in our next episode. This is our journey, More Life Diaries. Peace.